Hi, everybody. It's been not a very long week, actually. It's been a very busy week, but I, every Friday has become so momentous for me now. I started this almost 2 months back, and it has just picked up so much of momentum, and I feel super excited. And I keep wondering every week who's the new person that I can bring on board. And I think this week, I think I have, overdone myself because I have someone who is not only amazing, but there's so much to him, and I really don't want to give, his bio because I'd like him to talk about where he's come from, what has he done, how has he reached where he is today, and I don't want to waste another minute. So, hi, Ricky Cage, how are you? Hey, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that, rookie error. So, so glad to be with you on your show. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's been such a amazing journey for me. Like I said, I started this thing called Make It Myself, literally as uh, I think I was trying to make a statement in my own way. But it is so sweet how all the people that I've reached out to, I mean, you included, it was just one message, and I said, "Hey, Nikki, would you like to come and do this?" And it's nothing. I don't have any great views and I great subscribers, and I'm just doing this for fun. But I think someone like you who has such a huge legacy and such a huge, I mean, I was reading, about you. I know you, of course, we've worked together,
Yeah.
but just I was reading about you and I was like, oh my God, I mean, he is so much bigger than he makes himself to be. So thank you so much for coming, Vicky.
No, thank you so much,
uh,
and it's a huge pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much.
yeah. So, Ricky, tell me this. I want to start from the beginning. Where were you born?
So I was actually born in North Carolina in America, and in a really small town called Roanoke Rapids, which is on the border of North Carolina with West Virginia. Very, very beautiful place
Okay.
because my father is a doctor, and he was practicing over there for I think about 25 years. So I was born during that time.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I mean, did you do your schooling there, or how was your life, and how many years did you live there?
So I was there for about 8 years, and when I was born, there was no intention of my parents to actually move back to India. So that's the reason why my
Mm.
father gave me a Western name, because the thing is that he has a very complicated Indian name. His name is Gyan Chand Hiralal Cage. So that's why he decided that let's make things easier for my kids. So he gave me a Western name, and but when I was 8 years old,
Wow.
that's when my mother and father decided that that they wanted to bring me up in India. So that's why
Okay.
the whole family moved to India.
So, what's your mother tongue actually?
So my dad's a Marwadi, my mom's a Punjabi. But
Ah,
unfortunately, I don't know either language. So the only language that I can speak decently is English, and I can speak bits and pieces of Hindi. But that's all,
okay.
because for some reason I've been really, really bad at picking up languages. Languages is something that I try really hard to pick up, but I guess my brain is just not wired in that way.
That's amazing to hear, especially when you do music such as that's so global, and you worked with artists doing different sounds. But we get into more details of that. How did music happen in your life? I mean, when and where did that start?
So I guess music has been there right from the beginning. Even while I was not playing a musical instrument, I was obsessed with music. While
Okay.
classmates of mine were very obsessed with television, with cartoons, with video games, where for them their eyes were very important. For me, my ears were very important, and the center of my universe was my music system. During those days, there were
Right.
cassette tapes, so I would listen to cassette tapes all day long, try to understand the music that the places where these people came from, these musicians came from, try to understand the languages, the different cultures, the ethnicities. So a lot of my education has been through music.
Yeah. No, I think that's the beauty. Like right now, you see a lot of schools and a lot of parents always look at, I mean, before this whole pandemic happened, you had kids going to, learning the guitar and learning the piano. And they always say that music is a great, it helps you in your studies, But having said that, I mean, a lot of kids also feel burdened. Oh, no, I don't want to hold the guitar and play. So did your parents kind of push you towards it, or it was something that you kind of honed on your own?
Now, that is something that came naturally to me because we had sort of like a keyboard at home in America itself, and we also had a guitar at home. I do not know
Okay.
why, because both my parents do not play a musical instrument. But I just picked it up, and initially I was just self-taught, and I would play all of that. Then, as I grew older in India, I would find people to actually teach me. I would find anybody who would play the guitar or anybody who would play some sort of a musical instrument. I would sit with them. I would try to, be a pain in the ass and ask them a whole lot of questions and things like that. Because at that time there was no
Right.
YouTube, there was no internet
No.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So it was just me trying to understand how to perform music and how to and what music was all about from different people.
Right. So tell me this. I mean, when did it become a profession? When did it become? When did you realize that you could actually, live your life, or what, or did you do any other profession before you got into music, officially?
So the thing is that, as we all know, it's in our 12th grade that we need to make a very strong decision as to what we want to do for the rest of our lives. And
Right.
I had made a very, very
Right.
strong decision that I wanted to be a musician for the rest of my life. My father, who's a third generation doctor, he thought I was absolutely crazy. And there was a lot of drama at that particular point in time. And,
Yeah.
and I left home and all that nonsense happened. And,
Are
at
you
the end
the
of
only
all,
child?
no, I've
Are
got
you
one
the
older
only child?
brother. I've got one older brother
Okay. Okay.
who became a doctor, and he was the good child. So 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 after a lot of fighting with my parents, we reached a compromise that I would finish off a degree in dental surgery. And once I get that degree, my
Mm,
life is my own. So I did that degree. I went to 5 years of college, and
okay.
at the end of 5 years, I did not know anything about dentistry, but I still got a degree. So I gave the certificate to my father, and then after that there was no looking back. So I did not practice even for a single day. The intention was just to get over that degree so that that
Yeah.
my life was my own and my father would stop questioning me. So that was basically what
So
happened. And
possibly
then
when you were, yeah, when you were learning dentistry and anybody did you would possibly be listening to their their ability to hold a tune.
no, but actually speaking, dude, my professional career started from the first year of my dentistry itself. So I would finish off college
Okay.
at about 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock onwards, I would go to various studios around Bangalore, and with my keyboard and with my groove machine, and and I would be recording jingles. I had already started, making money off music. I'd already started creating music for television and radio commercials. By the time I was in my third
Hmm.
year, I'd built my own studio. So during my dentistry, the only issue is that from 9 to 5 I could not do music, and I used to find it very hard to
Right.
explain to my clients, like Airtel and Vodafone, when I used to do their commercials, that from 9 to 5 I can't do your jingle, and they would ask why, and I could not tell them I'm in college because they would not hire me. So I would give them all sorts of excuses that no, I've got band practice, or I've got rehearsals, or I'm traveling during that time or whatever.
Wow. So, I mean, from what I hear, you were pretty much, music obviously was a huge passion for you, and you were trying to keep your parents happy, so you went the typical good boy route of studying and becoming a doctor, or at least making them believe that you would go into becoming a doctor. But yeah, but tell me, I mean, was music then a way of earning your income, or how did things move into a space where you actually kind of started bringing a lot of philanthropic movements through your music? How did that happen?
So when I started off my musical career, as I mentioned, when I started off my dental career around 1999, I started off doing, commercials for television and radio. Radio had just started in India, so FM had just started in India rather. So I was doing a lot of commercials for
Right.
them too. And
Right.
by the time I reached about 2013, I had done more than 3,000 commercials for various brands
Wow.
all over the world. So I was working with jingle production houses in Spain, in Italy, in France, in USA, in
Hmm.
Argentina,
Hmm.
Singapore, everywhere. And then what happened is that it sort of struck me that that these big brands have understood the power
Hmm.
of music, so much so that they're ready
Right.
to spend so much of money on me and to air the music, to sell a product.
Right.
So they understand that music is
Right.
such a powerful language, not only for communicating a message, but for retaining that message deep in the head of a listener. Like the songs we learned
Very
during our
true.
childhood are songs we never forget. That is when it sort of struck me at that time that that I need to harness the power of music. And I was a very
Yeah.
strong environmentalist from my childhood. And a lot of my music was reflecting the environment during that time. I would make a lot of passion music on the environment. But that is when around 2013 is when I decided that I'm going to stop all forms of commercial music, and I'm only going to focus on creating music for positive social impact. So every piece of music that I make is going to be in my way, in my own tiny way, to make this world a better place. Otherwise, I'm not going to create music. So I stopped all forms of commercial
Wow.
music, and I did not do any music for the movie industry and things like that. So I just decided that every piece of music is going to be about positive social impact.
That's a huge stand, Ricky, because I mean, considering music or any art form, it takes years to kind of be able to, first of all, create a base for yourself, make a commercial success out of it, and for you to just, take a stand and not take the commercial route. Uh, I mean, was there ever a doubt that no, this may not be a good idea? Did you ever feel that?
The thing is that, see, the way that I look at it is that, when I started off into music, I got into music because it was a passion. Otherwise I had the dental degree, and
Right.
I could have been a dentist.
Right.
So I started music because it was purely a passion, and it was not a traditional career path. So it's not like, that there are certain steps that you can take of getting campus selected, going for an
Correct.
interview,
Correct.
getting into Infosys, going abroad on a B1 visa or whatever. So the thing is that there were no proper steps. So I realized
Right.
that being a musician itself, or being in any art form, there are possibilities that you can be creating art that that's not making you happy. That is not your
Yeah.
passion. That you can be constantly creating music that you yourself do not like, or music that is not your own personality. It's not a reflection of what you believe in. So I did not want to see
Right.
myself, a person who stands so much for all these causes, and sustainability and all that stuff, making, an item song which would later become my legacy. Because the thing is
Yeah.
that it's fine to make an item song, but then the problem is that that song will become far more popular than things that define you as a person, your own music. And then it's
Yeah.
then the songs that you made which are popular start defining you as a person. And so I would
Mm.
rather be very less known for songs that define me as a person, and songs that are an extension of my personality, rather than being extremely
Mm.
well known for songs that don't define me at all. So that is the principle that I've defined my career with. And so that's what, so I
Right.
just went that path. I decided that whatever I create, I have to be happy creating, and I have to be happy showing it that this is a piece of me.
Right. So tell me something, Ricky. I mean, the moment an artist, especially an independent artist, the whole, I would say, definition of an independent artist is self-expression, believing in what they're doing, and you see a lot of it in their poetry, in the way they write. What would you advise, upcoming talent? How should they go about, building a career for themselves, which, like you said, it should define them. I mean, this is now defining you. You create great music. You've associated with the Earth Day, and and at the same time, I have to say the songs are very commercial. They're very hummable. A lot of times when you see songs which are made for certain causes, or they're not, they don't have the typical commercial, tone to it. It just comes and goes. But your songs really, they stick in your brain and you keep humming it.
Now,
So
thank you for
what would
saying
you
that.
advise?
So my advice
Yeah.
would be
No, I
that
mean it.
to so my advice would be that always like in India, most musicians are always waiting for somebody to give them a brief to make music. Like either it is an advertising brief, or it is a
Yeah.
film director giving a brief based on a script or something like that. So my question to everybody is that why don't you just create music on based on something that you feel strongly about? Like if you look at a country like America, for example. America has got its share of pop music, but at the same time, every single part of America's history is chronicled through music. Whether it's the Dust Bowl
Right.
era, whether it's the Great Depression, whether it is 9/11, whether it is John F. Kennedy's murder, whether it is Trump. Everything is basically chronicled through songs. And basically, if you want to know what people felt during a particular era, like the 60s in America, you can just listen to the music, and you know what the
Yeah.
general feeling was in that particular country at that particular time. Whereas in India, we've got so many problems, we've got so many things, so many historical landmarks in India. But at the same time, every
Yeah.
single song that we see is basically either a love song or an item song. So why are people not, at least the songs which are marketed are just love songs and item
Yeah.
songs? So I would say that,
Yeah.
like, it's nice to do the commercial music, because I think that's important, and I'm a huge fan of Bollywood music. I love listening to Bollywood music. But at the same time, I think every musician needs to dig deep into their own hearts and dig deep into their own minds and constantly create music which they feel strongly about, because that is what is going to
Yeah.
define them when that's going to be the legacy that they're going to leave behind. And I think that is really
Yeah.
important. So, and even independent artists, I believe that a lot of independent artists, they create music hoping that somebody listens to it and sort of like gives them an opportunity to compose for a movie or something like that. But I would say that just be true to yourself and create music, and you will always
Yeah.
find your audience. That's what I believe, that that if you shoot in the dark, there's a possibility you won't find an audience, but you'll always find your audience. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, even though you've not asked me this, but since you brought up the thing about independent music, is that a huge
Yeah.
mistake that a lot of independent artists make, and even I was guilty of doing that in at least the first 7 or 8 years of my career, is that you make an album, you spend all your money on making that particular album, and then after that, you don't have any money to market the album. And plus, you're always looking at, once you release the album, you forget about the album, and you're like, what next? Whereas that should
Yeah.
not be
Yeah.
the attitude. I believe that in today's time, and I might be very controversial in saying this, but in today's time, the ratio has to be 80% to 20%. That 20% on production, 80% on marketing. That is the amount of money you should be spending. So that is what, and
Yeah.
it's the same amount of time that you should be spending. 20% on the creation. Like, for example, if you spend January and February and March on creation, then from April to December, you should only be spending on marketing the album. Because if you spent all your heart and soul into creating the album, you should not create another piece of work till you feel that particular album has had its best chance to be seen and to be heard by everybody. And only after you feel that you've done everything possible to make sure that album is seen and heard by everyone that wanted to hear it, then you move on to the next album.
It's amazing you even spoke about this, like mental telepathy. I was going to ask you, and you just bang on, said everything that was in my mind. Tell me another thing that we always face. I mean, having built an independent platform, I still see a lot of artists, feeling that they should have a label with them, because they have this feeling that a label is going to put their, muscle behind it. Do you think that's really a justified thought? I mean, is that the way an artist should be looking at their careers?
Actually, I do not have much of a comment on that, but what I can do is that I can give you an example of my life. So
Yeah.
the first 12 albums of mine were basically with major labels. They were with
Okay.
mainly signed up with labels in America. So there was
Okay.
Universal, there was EMI, there was Arista. Then I did an album with Varis Sarabande, did an album with Water Tower Records. So I've done albums with all the major labels. And the thing is that they were very successful albums for sure. But at the same time, the labels would not treat me as an artist. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of my albums were, in fact, all the albums that I released with labels were released as concept albums. Like, music for this, music for that, Kama Sutra Lounge, all these different names they would call it, and they would market it. And so basically they would constantly tell me that we can sell, especially with my kind of music, which used to be ambient and world music. They used to say that we can sell a concept, but we cannot sell an artist, because selling an artist takes too long. So, and I wanted to be sold as an artist, not because I was narcissistic or anything like that, but because I wanted to do gigs. I wanted to perform live. So I wanted some sort of publicity on my own name, so at least I could sell myself to do concerts and things like that. But then they just refused to do that. So after my 12th album, very amicably, I parted from the record labels, and then I went independent. So my 13th to now is my 17th album. So from my 13th to my 17th album, I've gone independent. And of course, it's been a struggle because, as I said, the 80-20% ratio. So I spend 20% of my time creating the music and 80% of my time marketing the music and putting it out and making sure that as many people listen to it and things like that. And also the thing is that for me, my main market has never been India. So it's also a struggle of traveling and, and reaching out to all these different labels all over the world and doing these concerts everywhere in the world and all of that stuff. But the thing is that you have the freedom as an artist, because now I can sell my music any way that I want. I can put any name on the album cover. I can choose the album art myself. So that way it's good. And of course, now with doing so many albums and doing it so many times, I've figured out how to distribute my music, and I've figured out what are the rights and wrongs and things like that. So I would say that if you want full creative control, do it yourself. And the other, lastly, I'd like to say that the other problem with labels is that nowadays, at least during my time, right up to about 2012, labels were actually pushing albums. But now I do not believe they are. I believe that labels are just playing the numbers game because they sign up a whole lot of artists who especially the artists who they're not who they did not build up from the ground up. So those particular artists, they are just bringing them in so that that they can sell as many albums as possible to the platforms, and just make a
Yeah,
little bit of
yeah,
money on the side and pay a salary or
yeah.
something like that. But I do not
I
believe
remember,
labels.
yeah, I remember attending a conference once, and I won't mention the person's name, but he did mention that their method of A&R is they actually see who's doing well on YouTube, and then they accordingly pick them up and they sign them on. So, yeah, well, I think it is a case of too much, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
having worked at a time in a music channel back in the late 90s, we knew how record labels were releasing music. I mean, literally, you had two or three labels talking to each other and saying, "Hold on to your release because I have some." So the shelf life of a content really grew in that. But tell
Yes.
me, if do you believe that if you're an artist who signed on to a label or if you're on your own, the expectations you have are very different? Like, when you do it on your own, every penny or everything that you earn is like, it feels like gold. But with a label, you have a certain expectation, and that's possibly the reason there's a lot of disappointment. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it depends upon the deal with the label, because if the label is giving you an
Mm,
upfront fee and they're recovering back, and the contract is about recovery of money, you only have to concentrate on the upfront fee, because there's going to be absolutely nothing after the recovery, because that's the way contracts
right,
are basically
right.
created. And in fact, Kanye West was speaking about that just a couple of just 2 weeks ago, that
Right,
about
right.
the same issue, that when it comes to especially when it comes to music, when you have a recovery based contract, then when you're signing the contract, you have to make sure that that upfront fee is good, because you're not going to see a penny
Yeah.
after that, because I've never heard of an artist who's seen anything above that. So let's put it that way.
Mm,
Then the second type of thing is that where the label does not put in any money, and they say that it's going to be a share of revenues. That is a worse contract, in my opinion, because when the label does not put in any money and does not invest anything, especially in today's time, they're not going to do anything to promote you, because they have nothing to lose. They're just going to see what
yeah.
you are going to do on your own to promote yourself, and they're going to take a ride along with you. And that is the case
Mm.
without exception. I can tell you this in full conviction, that without exception, any label who signs you on without an upfront fee is not going to spend any money on your marketing.
That's true. That is true. I mean, a lot of times just to be able to recover that upfront money is where they put their time and effort. But tell
Exactly.
me this, yeah, you won the Grammys in 2015, and what was that experience? I mean, how did that happen? Of course, it happened because of your music, but how did the whole, what was the process? How did
So
you get to know, you know?
So the thing is that that was an album called Winds of Samsara, my second independent album, as I mentioned. And of course, the folks, they were the folks at the labels were quite helpful in terms of me of setting up my distribution and things like that, because I still have a very
Mm,
good relationship with all of them. So that I'm very
mm,
fortunate about. Then, so the album was a collaboration between me and a South African flute player, Wouter Gellerman. And the way the
okay.
album started off also was quite amazing, because both of us were fans of each other's music, and we met in Los Angeles, and we were wondering how do we work with each other. And then we came across a huge coincidence that I just finished making a piece of music on Mahatma Gandhi, my father of the nation. He had just finished making a piece of music on his father of the nation, Nelson Mandela. So we decided that I'll send you my Indian music, you add South Africanness to it. You send me your South African music, I'll add Indianness to it. And then we ended up traveling around the world together for 2.5 years. He became a grandfather during
Wow.
that time. I got married during that time. So we became the best of friends. And at the end
Yeah.
of 2.5 years, we ended up in Bangalore. We had enough material to make a whole album. So then we cut an album, we released it. And of course, it was hugely commercially successful. We sold over 100,000 copies of the album.
Wow.
We were number one on the Billboard charts in America for instrumental music for almost 12 weeks. And we were the highest played instrumental album on radio in the world for a total of 2 months. And we won the
Wow.
South African Music Award. We won awards all over the world, and then the Grammy always felt like that it was on the back of our mind, but it always felt like an unattainable dream. That this is just not
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
possible. And I remember December 4th was the day when the nominations were announced, and it was night in India. It was daytime in Los Angeles. and my phone
Right.
kept ringing and it kept getting notifications. So
Hmm.
I woke up and I looked at it, and I saw that that I had got nominated for the Grammy, and it was a surreal moment. And then it's a 2 month waiting period for the actual award ceremony, which is the first time you get to know that you have actually won the award or not. So for those 2 months, a lot of people, especially the press all over the world, would constantly ask me that, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous?" And I would say I'm not nervous simply because it hadn't sunk in. And
Yeah.
but when I went and sat at the ceremony, that was crazy. When I sat at the ceremony, and
Wow.
then you have Beyonce sitting there, you have Ed Sheeran over there, you have Pharrell Williams,
Wow.
you have all these people, and then suddenly, the nervousness kicked in, and it kicked in so badly that I felt I'm going to
Right.
collapse at any second. So it was that bad.
Oh my
And
God.
I just wanted to get done with, whether I win or not. I did not care. I just wanted to get done with. But then I won, and I went up and I collected the award, gave the
So
acceptance
you
speech, and
didn't
then
know, right? You didn't know that you were winning till they
the
called out
first
your name as the winner.
the first person who gets to know who has actually won the Grammy is the celebrity who opens the envelope, because even the people who create the envelopes do not see who's there inside.
Wow.
So that is what.
Wow.
So that is how the
That's
Grammys
so
are.
genuine.
Because the thing about
Right.
the Grammys
Right.
is that, unlike the most of the Indian awards, what happens with the Grammys is that the Grammys, the awards is bigger than the stars. Whereas what happens in
Yeah.
India is that the awards depend upon the stars. So that is where
Yeah.
the what do you call it, the credibility gets into question. Whereas in the Grammys,
Yeah.
they don't care if anybody attends or not. They're like, if you want to collect
Right.
your award, you come. If you don't want to collect the award, get lost. That's the way it is. You will still
Right.
win,
Right.
but you don't collect the award. It's
Yeah.
all right. It's all right.
No, I think you put it beautifully. It's so right that the award is something that people want to really, get here in India. Unfortunately, I mean, there isn't actually anything in the non-film space. We are the first ones possibly doing something on those lines. But in the Bollywood space, we hear so
Yeah,
many stories about how it runs. So, you've done so much, Ricky. You've done, and there's been so much of accolades that you've, kind of really gathered, and you work very closely with the UN as well, right?
correct.
I mean, how did that come about?
So as I mentioned, I've always been a very strong environmentalist, and at some point I realized that I need to take this beyond just the music, because I was living the life also. Like, I'll give you some
Yeah.
examples of what I do in my life. Like, I lead a very frugal life up to about 2011, 2012, when I mentioned when I stopped commercial music. Up till that time, I used to
Yeah.
have 3 cars at any given point of time. I used to always have a 2-seater sports coupe. Like, I used to lead life like in a very flamboyant way. But then, when I decided that, I needed to make my life more sustainable, and I needed to be more cognizant of what is going on with the environment and things like that. So now I don't even own
Mm.
a car. I use public transportation everywhere. In Bangalore, I use buses and I use trains to go everywhere. And,
Wow.
so it's only public transportation in any city that I'm in. Second thing is that I do not buy, I'm not into fashion. So I do not buy clothes as much as normally a person like me would. I only have 11 sets of clothes at any given point of time. And only when a piece of cloth tears, that's the only time when I buy a new one. So if you look at my Instagram, I'm wearing the same clothes in every picture. If you look at my concerts, I'm wearing the same clothes all the time. So,
Well,
and I
so
take
did
real,
Steve Jobs.
no,
Even
but I
Steve
take,
Jobs was
correct. And I take very good care of my clothes. So that's the thing. And the third thing is
That's
that,
nice.
of course, I'm a vegetarian and an aspiring vegan. So that's what I do
Okay.
to what do you call that within my life. And I also get my carbon footprint audited every quarter, including my air travel, my what do you call that, my car, my transportation, my what do you call that, ink usage, lighting usage at concerts, generator usage at concerts. Every single thing is basically completely audited by a firm. And then what I do is that I offset my carbon footprint by tree plantations and investing in renewable energy. So I try to lead a carbon negative lifestyle in that way. So the thing is that's why the
That's
UN became a
great.
natural
Wow.
extension where both of us pretty much got in touch with each other, and I had an album which launched at the climate change conference which happened in
Right.
Paris by our prime minister and the French president. And after that, the association has been really strong with the United Nations, especially with a few of the people like the WHO, with UNICEF, with the UN Environment, with the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. And so I've been doing a lot of concerts for them all over the world. I've been creating a lot of music for them, helping them out with the advocacy, even sometimes helping them out with the negotiation with governments and things like that. So basically, my whole life is
Amazing.
about this now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it this way, Ricky. What has happened this year?
Yeah.
It has impacted. I mean, someone like you, who is an environmentalist and a musician, you are possibly experiencing both and kind of trying to make sense of it. So, what exactly has been your experience
So
over the
the
last 6, 8 months?
so of course, like as a musician, a whole lot of concerts have gotten cancelled. Because I'm used to performing in at least 4 or 5 countries every month, and now since the pandemic, I've only traveled once to Mumbai. That is last week, and so basically no traveling. I'm only in the studio. So basically, we just have to get used to the new lifestyle. That's what needs to happen, and musicians need to pivot into different ways
Mm,
to make their own careers more and more sustainable. And musicians have been doing that since time immemorial. Like if you look at the early 1900s, everything was about betaks. That everybody musicians would make money through people coming home and
yeah,
and giving donations to musicians and performing. And then the gramophone era
yeah,
started. And then people started understanding that, oh, this beta thing is not going to work out anymore, because people are going to be able to listen to my music on recordings at different parts of the world. And then people pivoted to that,
yeah,
and then it became cassette tapes, then it became CDs, then it became streaming. People started understanding that, okay, we cannot make too much of money through streaming, so we have to get popularity from our albums rather than from sales, make money through sales and make our money through live concerts. And now all of a sudden
yeah,
this thing has been thrust on us. So I guess it's all
yeah,
about
yeah,
musicians being creative, like how we are,
yeah.
and figuring out what is the next step and how do we make money. And if you understand how to make money, please come and teach me, because even I'm trying to figure it out.
But what do you think of this whole digital concerts and Insta Live and Facebook Live and all of this? I mean, what's your take on it as a musician and as a consumer?
See, I love it because it's got its advantages and disadvantages. Advantage is obviously that that the world is your playground. You're performing to the whole world. So you potentially have a large audience. And second thing is that
Yeah,
collaborating with somebody down the road is the same as collaborating with somebody in Senegal or in New York or something like that, because the whole world is coming together in that way. Disadvantage is you're
right,
performing to a camera lens, obviously, so it's very difficult to gauge
right,
what is happening with an audience. But
yeah,
I may say something that a lot of people will not like, but I do not believe that musicians can charge right now for the online concert, simply because the thing is that the quality is just not there. In the sense that if you look at the
mm,
Instagram lives, the audio quality is terrible. And then
mm,
if you look at the regular concert, like the Facebook lives and all that stuff, the quality is only somewhat decent if all the musicians are in the same location. But if musicians are in
yeah,
different parts of the world, the only way for you to do it is through a pre-recorded concert, because there's
yeah,
always going to be latency and it's going to throw people off and things like that. And and plus, like, even if you are doing a proper 100% live concert with a lot of musicians, then it's usually not a two-way communication. So it's
yeah,
not like the
yeah,
audience can shout and the band can listen to you. And that's the main thing about a regular concert, about paying and going to a regular on-ground concert, that it's a community viewing experience. You can hear everybody shout
yeah,
around you. Plus, it's that feeling that if I shout loud enough, the band will listen to me. So so that's the whole thing, and that is missing. So I
yeah,
believe that till the technology improves, I think musicians need to find a different way to monetize these online concerts by getting brands involved, and getting
mm,
brands to actually pay for these concerts and pay the musicians. That's something that we've been
mm,
exploring, to get the brands to pay for
mm,
these concerts and get some in concert branding, because the reach is tremendous. But I believe that, at least this is my thought, that that asking an audience to pay for a concert which is of a lesser quality, that's something that I personally would not do. But I
yeah.
would definitely get the brands to pay for it, because the brands will have tremendous reach through it.
Yeah, but yesterday I saw this concert that happened. It was a launch of a new device by Samsung, and there was Neeti Mohan and Divine and a couple of artists who sang. And I was watching Neeti Mohan, so it was a beautiful set, no doubt. And she had an entire band, so there were about 8 members, and she sang, I think, one of those songs from Jab Tak Hai Jaan, if I'm not mistaken. It was beautiful, but the the only sad part was when she ended. There was no sound, in the sense
Yes, yes.
there was no, and I'm sure she must have felt horrible, but it just felt, you realize suddenly the audience is not there.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching it, but there's no sound. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the technology needs to be able to bring in virtual audience so that, even the artist feels he's performing to an audience, and there has to be some kind of a way to create that synergy. The last thing two last things, Ricky, I wanted to just chat with you was one, this new song that you've done with Salim and Suleiman. As I told you, it was perfect timing. My daughter came and she told me, Mama, what is happening in this country? There's rape, there's this, there's that. The government is not doing anything, and she's 17-year-old, so she's got a lot of opinions. And it was so ironic that you came out with this song, and of course it was for Gandhi Jayanti, I presume. But how did that whole collaboration happen?
So I'd done a really tiny collaboration with Salim earlier on a concert that I'd done
Okay.
for the Times Group, and
Okay.
so of course I've been a huge fan of Salim Suleiman for a very very long time, of their music,
Yeah.
of their arrangements, and of the way they've basically built their career. Of trying to do unique things all the time, and unique technology into their music and things like that. So I approached actually Salim on Instagram, and I told him that I'd love to do something with Salim Suleiman. He said fine. So then I sent the brothers a piece of music that I'd created, like an instrumental piece of music, with a couple of melody lines and a string section recorded onto it, and and some sitar on it and things like that, which I'd recorded with some amazing musicians. And Salim Suleiman loved the track, and then we decided among ourselves that we'll make it into a vocal track. We'll take it to the next level, and we'll do that. And of course, Salim Suleiman did their magic to it. They took it to a whole new level, the
Yeah.
track. Then we were deciding on which singer to use for it. And then I put my foot down. I'm like, Salim, I want you to sing it. And Salim was like, no, we'll get somebody else. We'll get somebody amazing. We'll get this. And I'm like, you're amazing. I love your voice. Let's work with you. So then Salim
Yeah.
recorded the song. And, I would not have had it any other way. I think I'm a huge, huge fan of his voice. And so we recorded the
Yeah.
song, and we got IP Singh from Faridkot to actually write the lyrics, because IP Singh has been performing with me. He's performed easily about 40
Yeah.
to 50 concerts with me. So we got him to write
Right.
the lyrics, and we decided that the lyrics needed to be about be the change you want to see, because everybody talks about changing the world, but nobody talks about
Yeah.
changing themselves. So we used that as a thematic element, and IP Singh wrote the lyrics. And so I'm very grateful to Salim and
Right.
Suleiman for this collaboration.
No, it's beautiful. I love the video. I love the song. And I think it was, I mean, also because it was so close to my heart considering the timing. So I think it was, that's what music is about. It touches you in ways that, I mean, as a creator, you don't even know how you're touching people's lives. And it's amazing how you've kind of made it your, it's your way of life, actually, the way you do stuff. Uh, Very importantly, Ricky, as I always, like I mentioned earlier, to sign off, what does make it myself mean to you? I mean, what do you think when you hear that phrase?
Now, I guess music itself, if you look at it from the way that music is created right now, it rarely is music. I mean, good music is rarely created by just one person. So in that way,
Right.
when it comes to the creative process itself, I think it's very important to work with a lot of people to get different perspectives. Like the way that I look at it is that every single sound that you want to create, every single instrument that you want to create, can be created by within the computer. But the
Right.
idea of bringing in musicians into the fold is that you're not only getting their musical instrument like their violin or the sitar or whatever, you're also getting their life experiences, you're getting their music education, you're
Right.
getting their head into the whole thing. So I would say make it myself should not be about the creative process, but I would say about
Right.
the aura and the essence and the marketing process. I would say that it's very very rewarding to do everything yourself, and to work with like-minded people who also believe that you need to do it
Yeah.
yourself, rather than people who
Yeah.
say that I want to own you completely for the rest of your life, and I want to own your music, and I want to tell you also what kind of music you should be creating. So that way your platform is absolutely amazing, because you respect artists, and you respect creativity, and what you do is that you just supplement the artist. You don't try to take over the artist, and that I think we need more and more platforms like this, which supplement the artist and make the artist grow, rather than control the artist.
Thank you so much, Ricky, and I really appreciate the words. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next song. I think you mentioned that you're releasing something in
On
next week,
October
I
14th.
guess, right?
Yeah, October
Yeah.
14th. Yeah.
Lovely. So I look forward. So I just wanted to say there was this person called Raj Tarangini Kumar, and he says that he was your junior from Oxford.
Oh, wonderful. From my dental
So,
college, yeah.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so just the person who had messaged, so I thought I'll just read it out. But thank you so much, Vicky. Have a great, great day, the rest of the day, and take care of yourself. Stay safe,
Thank you.
and
You too.
yeah, look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.